Don't believe, folks, or you might miss it, but these are a store. This plane capable of taking off in the space of less than 200 feet. We overheard a conversation this morning, and the pilot, Re-enactment, said it was like flying a helicopter. Straight up and away, a long and ungainly landing gear. Again, much like the line of 22 30 perfect. More about that in a moment. So up and away,
What's wrong?
You'll find a common thread through a lot of planes within this collection is that they were employed for a great many years after World War II by governments other than those that originally designed them. Now taking off in our Tiger Moth.
What's happening?
Tiger Moth itself employed great success as a trainer by Commonwealth countries.
Look, it got in trouble.
But also things must come to an end, and Tiger Moth was eventually replaced by the plane now taking off, the de Havilland Chipmunk, today being flown by Robert Powell Airline.
They're prisoners.
First to come back around is the Fiesler Stork. This German, well, its role was essentially the same as that of the L-5 Stints, forward air control, aerial reconnaissance, that sort of thing, but intended for supporting ground troops. But its most famous accomplishments came near the end of the war, and specifically following the invasion of Italy by Allied forces. The Italian peninsula began to collapse in the front, and the Germans insisted on keeping. They were not able to hold the entire peninsula, and with about 30 to 50% of the peninsula being held by Allied forces, the Italian fascist government made a separate peace and actually overthrew Benito Mussolini. He was then put under house arrest in an Italian Alpine redoubt without any hope of rescuing his friend. Whereupon he commissioned a commando with the use of the Fiesler Stork. The commando raid conducted for the rescue of Benito Mussolini was commanded by Otto Skorzeny. The long landing.
Are you sure that you're not a saboteur? Or you're not oversight?
An earlier type known as the Gypsy Moth. The first Tiger Moths were delivered by de Havilland in 1932, and only 1,000 or so had been manufactured by the beginning of World War II in 1989, and many of them went on to serve in other countries, including South Africa, what was then known as Rhodesia, and India as well, and all employed for the purpose of training pilots. The Rapide itself came from large single-engine light transports that were developed by the de Havilland Company in the 1930s.
I do not believe you. Where did you get this?
As I said before, the museum of de Havilland Dragon Rapide was built in 1944 and was actually known as the de Havilland Dominique and employed light transport and also
What is your name?
As I said earlier, the de Havilland Chipmunk itself came as a replacement for the very successful de Havilland Tiger Moth. The first Chipmunk actually flew in 1946, and it's only this particular aircraft is actually developed by de Havilland of Canada. Two different types were developed, the original for Canadian service and then the British version itself, which was fully equipped for aerobatic service, providing for a greater range of training that could be demonstrated by the plane for its young pilots.
Must have been in Bombay, yeah?
There was also a slight difference in the configuration of the cockpit between these two aircraft. The Chipmunk became so well accepted in such a short span of time that orders were almost immediately filled by Egypt, Chile, Thailand, and Portugal, which itself negotiated a license and eventually went on to manufacture 60 de Havilland.
Goes to Texas.
within their own borders.
Yeah, one day I will go to this Texas.
Across the world, chipmunks remained in military service in much the same way as the S&J or P6.
American Fliegers eat well, huh?
You admire the fine restoration work conducted under the Hackle Dragonaut team. You may find it to be roughly representative of Charles Whitney just a few weeks ago. The fighter factory's own chipmunk was built in 1942, and the aircraft type actually has the distinction of having been the very first plane in which His Royal Highness the Register Officer received his first flight lesson in 1952.
They treat you a little differently when you go.
What's the done? What is your name?
Snyder, WG, Staff Sergeant, 218-62-914.
You have
As I
identification.
said, the long legs of the landing gear of the Caesar store contain coil and spring shock absorbers that can compress as much as
So you were in
to
Nevada.
allow for the plane to sit down.
What unit were you flying
in a
with?
very short area. And it was limited
452nd Bomb
and
Group.
rough airfield, and you can see there the landing gear compressing with the landing of the fuselage.
Yeah, we know this. We're just trying to establish how you say it.
This plane was flown
No?
effectively by the great German
Dolmetscher.
pilot Hanna Reich in the middle of the Battle of Berlin. In fact, she flew out of the besieged city under heavy fire from Soviet forces and did this from the badly damaged roadway just in front of the Brandenburg Gate downtown Berlin.
No, wait.
So again,
Who's your
it's a
commanding
story.
officer?
Video again?
Long-legged, but short on takeoff. So that was done
Why would I do that?
Information to
in the
notify the Red Cross and
Gotcha.
Guys,
You
already know who every commanding officer of every unit is.
More
Yeah,
hidden
what
here
would
than
like to
most
hear
in
from
the
you?
cockpit. And scooting alongside
Things will go a lot better for you, but you cannot be acting out with SS.
Just got taking his time.
You must
Rolling
behave
the tiger
yourself
off
and
for
act
effect.
accordingly.
So again, round of applause, please, for our pilots this afternoon at the Aviation Museum.